Hi everyone. We're going to find all values of x for which the expression is defined in simplest forms. So we're just going to take this apart and then put it back together again and write it in simplest forms. Now this numerator part here, what we're going to do is pull it apart by grouping it. Because what I notice here, if I take this part and I take this part, and if I have a negative there, I have to change that to positive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out of x squared, and I'm going to get x plus 2, then put the minus and factor out a 9 and do x plus 2. So that's how I'm going to do the numerator, and just think about this. When you distribute a negative 9 to a 2, you're going to get a negative 18. So that's where the negative 18 comes from, if you put it back together. Alright, so I just took these two separate. So let's get started on that. So I'm going to, again, factor by grouping, or we're going to pull this apart. I'm going to, and pulling it apart is actually pretty hard, so let's do that. So we're going to have x squared, then have x plus 2. When you're factoring by grouping, what you want, you also want an x plus 2 here. These two have to be the same. So to get that, we're going to write negative 9. So negative 9 times x is negative 9x. Negative 9 times 2 is negative 18. So if you worked it out. Now for the denominator, I'm going to factor out an x, because there's the x can divide each of these. So that's going to be x squared minus x minus 6. Now what I'm going to do is do my grouping, and this is based off the distributive property. I'm going to put those two together. So I have x squared minus 9 times x plus 2. Again, this is like x squared times x plus 2, which is the first piece, and negative 9 times x plus 2, which is the second piece, if you distribute it. Okay, and then for the denominator, I'm going to have to factor that. So I do this, and I have x's here, and my factors of 6 are 6 and 1 and 3 and 2. I'm going to try 3 and 2. I know it's a negative 6, so 1 has to be positive, 1 negative. Now when I check this, I'm going to get, I check this way, negative 3x. So this is negative 3x plus 2x. And that does give you the negative x here. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm going to further factor this. This has the form of a squared minus b squared. So in that case, a is x and b is 3. So factor that and you get x plus 3, x minus 3. That's called the difference of squares. And then copy down your x plus 2. And then copy down your denominator. Now we can cancel things out. So the x minus 3's cancel. The x plus 2's cancel. And we're left with x plus 3 divided by x. And that's your final answer. And that's it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.